My co-laborer, Mark Nicholson, and his wife are involved in something that's truly unique and inspiring. I'm just so excited to share with you some of the ways that he and his wife are living missionally, bringing the gospel of life to a broken and fallen world all around us as people come and visit America. So stay tuned and watch this. Hey Mark, it's good to see you again.
Hey John, how are you today?
One of the reasons I love our time together here is that we get to continue to talk about what we're most passionate about, which is sort of bringing a gospel-centric and a world missions perspective to everyday kind of Christianity. And that's a great challenge for us, but it's also very satisfying. And I also love the fact that we're always looking for entry points for everyday people to get involved with sharing the gospel and advancing the gospel's mission all over the world, so that it's not just theory, it's also practice. And right. And one of the things I really I admire about you is that not only do you do this vocationally like I do, we're going all over the world all the time, but that you do it at a very personal level in a way that I struggle more to do. But what you've been doing in the last couple of weeks here is very, very exciting, and I just think people should hear about it and will want to hear about what you're doing on your farm. So Tell people a little bit about you and the farm and what's going on up there.
So John, as you know, we were missionaries for 10 years in Asia and lived overseas. When we came home, we struggled with, should I be in vocational ministry, for instance, working in some home office of a mission agency or something like that. The truth is, in the end, we decided to buy a farm. Now, for the people who are watching this, Dana and I, neither one of us come from agricultural backgrounds. No one in our family has ever owned a farm. We both grew up on the cul-de-sac. And it was sort of a harebrained idea to say, well, our kids grew up in Tibet, setting fires in the grasslands and throwing rocks at wild animals and running around kind of with a lot of freedom in their lives. Yeah. What happens if we move them now as preteens to the cul-de-sac, the proverbial cul-de-sac in America?
Yeah.
We decided to buy a farm, and we learned how to farm on YouTube and reading books. I mean, that's how we decided to do it. We bought a little bit of land and we started buying animals on Craigslist. And now we have this farm that has, we have 30 cows, and in the summertime, we have a few thousand chickens that we provide for meat and for eggs. Yeah. We have sheep and we have pigs, and so it's kind of the hobby farm that's gotten away from us a little bit.
Yeah, and it's organic too. Tell people about that a little bit.
It's all grass fed. It's all, the idea there is that, well, here's one of the things that we have found about a farm like this. It brings together all kinds of people, John. It brings together kind of the earth muffin people with belly button rings, along with the homeschool, real conservative type of people. It brings together Democrats and Republicans and progressives and conservatives and earth-minded people. It just brings everybody together, because who's not for healthy eating, and who's not for ethical treatment of animals, and that kind of, who's not for just good ecological stewardship?
Right.
So you've got people from different backgrounds who come to the farm to see it and to learn from it, and we have a big educational component on the farm. So you're kind of holding hands on the farm with people you might not necessarily generally. These might be the people you're yelling at on social media in your spare time.
That's true. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, but
it's an
but
entry
people,
point, really.
People like good eating, and the truth is, when it comes to ecological stewardship, I would consider myself a Christian environmentalist, not to the extreme that the environment serves Yeah, that we have to serve the environment and we have to bow down
Right.
to the environment like so many get carried away with. But the biblical ideas here are dominion and stewardship and these ideas of good ecological practices and good
Yeah.
homesteading
Letting
with
the
animals.
land
These
rest.
are biblical. They're
Yeah,
biblical
yeah.
principles.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and we're learning a lot about it.
I'm
we're not
amazed.
experts.
Now, just so our audience knows, I have visited your farm, and
Yes.
I come from. I'm a city boy also, so I loved going there and seeing how even the chickens are kind of grazing from one part of the field to another, to another, to another, so that they're always eating salad,
right.
as you call it, and bugs.
Yeah, everything is kind of vertically integrated. The chickens come in and they poop and they spread their little fertilizer and the grass grows, and then the cows come into that area and they eat the fresh blaze of new growth of grass, and everything's very healthy and everything's very fresh.
Okay.
It's grass fed. So yeah, it's wonderful. But
So
there's
yeah,
a problem with it.
well,
Go
what's the
ahead,
problem?
John. I'll let you. Well, where I was going with that is it's kind of a side thing for us, and it takes quite an amount of time, and you have to spend some money on buying animals, and then you have to try to sell this meat. Everyone knows there's no money in farming, and on top of that, people who farm in America at massive like agricultural scale do it on volume, not on small hobby farm type stuff. They get subsidies from the government. They take 40 cows to the butcher at one time rather than one like we do.
Yeah.
So we kind of pay boutique pricing and everything. The bottom line is farms are money pits in general. You have to figure out kind of a vertical way of integrating ways for the farm to pay for itself. And for us, it's an education component. We stumbled on that pretty early, doing farm tours and
Farm
having
camp.
people there and farm camp. That's exactly right. So that's where we're going with this discussion is, we started this farm camp.
So on a typical week in the summer, you run, 100 kids on the farm,
Yeah.
and they kind of learn all about this, the things that you're talking about, the environment,
Exactly
about,
right.
understanding the soil and respecting the land and raising
That's
good
right.
food and nutrition and
So in the summertime, we started the first summer, and this was 10 years ago, John. This year is our 10th year of doing this farm summer camp for kids, ages 6 to 12, a day camp. They don't sleep here, but they come all day, and they learn about animals and ecology. But it started with 30-something kids on our front porch. I mean, this was really just kind of a backyard camp. And this summer, we're going to host over 800 children will be here on our farm learning and going through farm camp this summer. And they actually come from states all around. It's not just North Carolina that people come from.
wow.
It's really become an amazing thing.
Okay. And you've got, again, thinking of everything that we do as entry points for the gospel.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about some of those entry points that you've built into farm camp.
Yeah, so we do not call it and advertise it as a Christian camp. We do not run it as a Christian camp. We run it as an educational farming camp for youngsters, and we don't want people to feel excluded or like they're not going to be welcome if they are not Christians by coming to a Christian camp. So these are not typically the rural 4-H type of kids that come. A lot of them end up coming from the city nearby, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and they're doctors' kids and they're lawyers' kids and they're kids who are typically on the iPad, during the week, and the parents want them to connect with nature and get outside and sweat and learn and get some exercise. So it really appeals, again, to a large variety of types of people. And the people who come to the farm camp are not necessarily Christians.
Gotcha.
We talk about the Lord. We talk about the Lord because we are Christians. And as you say, that's an entry point for just being able to talk about the fact that we don't believe that there was some big explosion that created all this. We believe that God created animals the way they are and created them to have the instincts that they have. And we are trying to let pigs be pigs. We don't keep them in concrete cells. We keep them in the woods where they're eating fresh things and that kind of thing.
Okay. So in general, from week to week, you're introducing people who love nature to the God of nature.
That's a good way of saying it. And I
Okay.
would say
And
that
then,
the most. Well, go ahead.
well, then I know that you'll have teenagers there that are getting a lot more, and there's more of an entry point there for the gospel, right?
For us, that's actually the most evangelistic part of the summer because we recruit teens from the local high schools who need volunteer hours anyway. Many of them are
Okay.
not believers. They come and they get to know each other and they work together and they sweat together and they do hard things together, proverbially hard things. It's hard to wrestle, a group of 6-year-olds. And then we introduce them to the idea that, hey, we have a Bible study that we run. The kids themselves teach it. It's not just for people who are church people. If you have questions about the faith, you're welcome to come. We end up most years with 40, 50, 60 kids in Bible study all summer long. And most of these are teenagers that are not church kids.
Yeah, this is their very first introduction to the Bible, to the scriptures, to the Christian life, the theology,
That's right.
the good news of the gospel, questions that people feel free to ask because there's no expectations.
In that way, it's sort of a Labrie type of mentality. There's an openness to whatever is on your mind, and wherever you are, let's talk about how that relates to the meaningful things in life and why we're here.
Okay.
So that itself, yes, is very evangelistic.
So many of the counselors are teenagers who are really learning about Christ and the gospel and giving an opportunity to really think through the call of the gospel in their life as they work there all summer long.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And, we pray. We don't pray we do pray with the kids during the farm camp sometimes before we eat a meal or whatever. We don't heavily emphasize that, but we do heavily emphasize our Christian faith with these volunteer teenagers, specifically because we want them to understand this is not the place for foul language. This is not the place for summer romances to get out of hand. This is not the place for your smoking and vape pens to be in your back pocket while you're running around on the farm. We need to create a healthy and safe environment for the kids.
Sure.
Yeah.
So last week you did something that was really over the top. It's like you brought world missions to nomad farms.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Last week was really unique, John, because as many of the people in our Passion Life Fellowship know, we have 4 children, and our 3rd child, David, 21 years old, passed away this past year. Now, David grew up in China as a missionary in our family. We lived in China for 10 years. Yeah. And David always felt like a foreigner, just like all of our kids. Came home from the mission field. When they lived in China, they felt like they were from another country. They came home from China, and everybody... They look just like other kids in America, but inside their worldview is different. No one really knows them at a core level if they don't understand this growing up in China portion of them. So in many ways, David always felt like a foreigner, and he was always drawn to foreigners. Even when he was in college, a lot of his friends were foreign students. When he went off to do summer programs, he fell in with the foreign students. He ended up loving homeless people who were kind of down on their luck. He loved anybody who was kind of down and out, if you will, because he himself felt like he didn't fit in to this world. And in many ways he didn't. He was a citizen of another place, and this world was not his permanent home. He was a nomad. So going back to the theme of nomad farms. So we, in honor of David's memory this year, did what we have always wanted to do with this farm camp. We invited the foreigner. And what that means is we had an international week, which we've never done before, in David's honor. And we partnered with World Relief, which is a missions organization that's all over the country, and they settle refugees and people from difficult backgrounds into America. So these are people who are here legally with World Relief, and World Relief is helping them get established on their feet in these communities.
So tell us, how many of these students came, and give us kind of the eclectic picture of them. Where do they come from?
Well, we advertised it as a week that it was not required that you speak any English to come. That was part of the challenge of this particular week. And indeed, some of these students, some of these kids have only been in America for a month or two and don't speak a word of English.
Wow.
Most of the family, we don't normally do this during farm camp, but we allowed it to expand past 6 to 12-year-olds. If they were older siblings, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. We even had a camper this week who was 23. I think he had special needs and was a camper. Okay. We had 3-year-old kids. We had the moms and the dads would come and sit in the shade and watch the kids.
Wow.
So these mostly were people from Afghanistan, Syria, Lebanon, Congo, Ethiopia, and Eritrea, which is north of Ethiopia, Muslim, predominantly Muslim area. El Salvador, Honduras. It really was kind of all over, but there were large language groups in Farsi, Arabic, Dari, Amharic were the large language groups.
Yeah.
I think we had 11 different nationalities represented. I think we had at least 9 different languages represented, and they were all mixed together, and very few of them spoke any English.
And some of them they're dressed in like Muslim.
Yeah, for the Muslim hijab head coverings. A lot of the moms came in full head to toe burqas. Which, I mean, it's hot in North Carolina on a farm in the summertime for a black burqa. Goodness. But these people were so happy to be here. They were so thankful to have something to do that was organized and it was just for them. By the way, John, we did this totally on scholarships. None of these kids paid to come to camp. We are still in the process of raising the money to offset the camp. We brought in halal meals for them. So that they could eat meals that were catered from a halal company.
Okay.
It was quite an amazing thing. And I think David would have loved it. Our David would have loved it.
Well, it's the Great Commission in reverse, almost like Pentecost. You had everybody coming in from different places and different languages showing up on your farm. Now, these were not 4 and 5-year-old kids, were they? These were older kids.
Most of the kids were between the ages of 6 and about 16.
16, so quite a large age group. And they all had somebody that they could talk to in their own language, I suspect.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Wow.
A lot of them did have brothers and sisters that they could talk to, but it wasn't really, again, there was a lot of sign language and a lot of smiling and a lot of nodding of heads. And it was just a lot of hands-on learning. We worked with our staff. Everything has to be hands-on. But here's the thing, John. Here's what Leviticus 19 says, and this really animated a lot of what we did. Leviticus 19, verses 33 and 34 says, "When a stranger sojourns with you in your land, you shall not do him wrong. You shall treat the stranger who sojourns with you as the native among you, and you shall love him as yourself." God goes on to remind the Israelites that they were strangers in the land of Egypt during the time of their enslavement, and that they should be willing to treat those who sojourn among them from foreign lands as welcome. And that's really what we were trying to do with these people who don't have much of a friendship network in the United States. Show them love and give them something fun and educational to do.
I'll tell you, I take that word very seriously, and I have for a long time tried to remember it because we live in a land of immigrants. And of course,
yes, we do.
Let's just put it out there. There's a lot of debate about the whole immigration thing.
Of course.
And the immigration policy and illegal immigration, all that kind of stuff is being worked out, okay? And I know
That's
how I
right.
feel about that. And I generally get the idea of law and order and permission. And we go into countries and we have to obey certain laws and we have to get
Yep.
permission to come in and all of that, okay? But in the meantime, I know whenever I have met foreigners, migrants, I've always tried to make sure that I don't try to exploit them in any way.
Yes.
Make sure that, as they are struggling to deal with other people, not exploiting or taking advantage of them, that they meet people that respect them and recognize that they have given up a lot to come here. And,
That's right.
To take the politics out of it, you can just say, let's talk about the legal immigrant, the person who leaves Vietnam and the war-torn Vietnam and comes all the way over here and starts a whole new life, okay? Back when I lived in Boston, we had a real outreach to the Vietnamese and the Hmong.
I remember that.
Because they were completely, just like the kids on your farm, they're starting completely over. And know nothing
they're
about
the
language,
foreigners
culture.
who have come to a new place and from terrible circumstances and needed to be welcomed and integrated.
Yeah. And it becomes an opportunity for the gospel to come
does.
shining through when people are living in darkness. So,
Well, why don't we
fabulous.
take a break, John? When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the missions ideas of ministering to the sojourner and the kind of those who are outsiders for one reason or another, and how that relates to the ministry of Passion Life.
Okay. As I travel all over the world, people commonly ask me what they can say and do to help a mother who's in a pregnancy-related crisis. And I always say to them, be ready to speak up and show them the simplest of things. Show them what their baby looks like. We call this the Passion Life Tiny Baby. It's what you look like at 9 weeks of age, and it's available. You can find more information about it on our website.
The U.S. accounts for only 3% of the abortions that happen in our world each year, leaving 97% of the crisis before us as a world missions challenge. Would you join us in serving where the need is greatest? Passion Life, rescuing the most vulnerable where abortion is most concentrated.
So in the Old Testament, John, the Lord takes Abram and he begins the Hebrew nation and he blesses them and he protects them and he grows them and he says, follow me. And when other people see how I act on your behalf, they'll get to know that I'm a powerful God, a God of grace and mercy. And that's oversimplifying the missions perspective of the Old Testament. But basically, God was working with the Israelites, not just because he only loved the Israelites, but because he wanted everyone in the world to see how he was powerfully working on behalf of the Israelites.
Yeah.
So it was
Israel,
always in the mind. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Israel is the entry point for the rest of the world. God
The entry point
chose them
that we're talking about.
so that through them, the word, the law, the nature, the power, the redemptive promise could all be made known through Israel
Exactly.
to the rest of the world. Yeah.
But he always had in mind, if you are carefully looking at the scriptures, the sojourner, the foreigner, get into the New Testament and you read more about the Gentiles and you read more about kind of the people of different types that are marginalized.
Yeah.
And God brings them in. He welcomes them in. That was always part of his desire, and his plan was to be worshiped not just by the Israelites, but to expand that out through the blessing of Israel into the rest of the world, to the ends of the earth.
And then, of course, if you go to the book of Revelations, you see where that opening thread with Abraham ends with the consummation of the ages. And I'm just reading here in Revelation 5, talking about what they see. They sang a new song, "Worthy are you to take the scroll, for you were slain, and by your blood you ransomed people for God from every tribe and language and people and nation, and you have made them a kingdom and a priest for our God." So what was promised in Genesis 12 is fulfilled by the time we get to the book of Revelation and the consummation of the age. Amen.
Farm camp last week was a little bit like that. It was a little bit like Revelation 5 and Revelation 9, seeing all these people from all these different lands coming together and working together. And it's not like heaven. It wasn't like heaven. It was a little bit chaotic, but it was a little slice of what it means to be on the mission field and to see a loving effort made to reach these people. It was really a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And in many ways, it's a microcosm of what we do with Passion Life, as far as the fact that we are a pro-life organization that works specifically, largely in the mission field.
Yeah. And everywhere you go, you still see people who don't fit in. You know, they're kicked out, or they just are personality or whatever it is. They don't fit. They're the broken people. People in pregnancy-related crisis are being pushed out almost all the time out of that social
exactly right.
fabric. And I remember, again, especially in parts of China, we saw that if a Muslim girl is pregnant outside of wedlock, she's out, and she's destitute. Right. She is the sojourner at that point.
She is the foreigner.
Yeah. So much of what we're doing is helping Christians get a biblical perspective of how to keep your heart open to the sojourner, the foreigner, the broken, the homeless, the kicked out, and as you see that as an entry point for bringing the kindness and the mercy of God in a way that really introduces them to the God they do not know.
As you have said many times, the mission field that we work in has often been created by this abortion crisis. Kurt Dillinger refers to the mission field created by abortion. We're always looking for an entry point for the gospel. That's what we're doing on our farm. It's what we're doing with Passion Life. The abortion issue, the abortion crisis, opens up a window of openness in people's hearts and in their spirits to listen to a gospel message.
We want to be a people in our times that are bringing life-saving help to people, the innocent, and doing it in a life-changing way. That's the bottom line, and that's a very exciting way to live your life.
Yeah.
Whether you're on the farm or you're off to Vietnam or Cuba.
The point, I guess, that what we're talking about is ways that we can live our lives in a missional way. There are a lot of foreigners among us, foreign students at the university in all of our hometowns. There are pregnant women who have been marginalized in their own communities because they have been kicked to the edges. Let's look for opportunities to welcome these people right into the heart of the gospel.